Yeah,
Yep, there you go.
you're running fine on my little levels, so I think it's good. Well, we've got the gang all back together again tonight. Will and Derek are joining me for this episode of No Driving Gloves. Be sure to check us out on the social medias, as I always say, on Instagram or Facebook. Do we even need websites anymore? I don't know. We have one, but I'll be honest, the webmaster's a little lazy, hasn't updated it in a while. Just check out the Facebook and Instagrams. We'll get more and more stuff posted, and we're going to pay a little bit more attention to that. Be sure to tell a friend about us. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a review. It really does help us in the standings and the ratings there. We'll get a few more listeners that way. A few more listeners means a few more suggestions, so on. It all rolls uphill here, and we get it. We'll get it taken care of. If you have any show topic suggestions or whatever, drop us a line on the social medias. Just find us at No Driving Gloves everywhere. Since everybody's here, let's see if we can catch up. I'm going to say I actually did some car restoration the last couple of weeks, messed with a couple Lotus, kind of got frustrated with a few things. Custom fabricated parts don't fit, little things like that. But hey, that's the life we live. But I guess a bad day at my job is probably still a good day for most people. How's Derek? Things are going well with you? You staying busy? I know you've got some side work and some adventures going on.
I'm actually doing great this week. The side work is going fantastic. The Model A is back together. Took it out for 20-minute, half-hour drive over the weekend, and everything's running great. And work's going fantastic. Having a good time. Doing some pretty cool things with collections, with kind of some digital content on collections, and hopefully once we get those out. Maybe we can kind of cross-share some of that here on No Driving Gloves. And digging more into the collections and pulling out some cool artifacts that haven't been seen in quite some time, and getting ready to take some unique things to some concours this year, and planning a pretty cool exhibit that's going to be opening up in June of this year. So I'll talk about that probably when we get closer. But really just having a lot of fun lately. So makes me happy. Weather's warming up in Kentucky, and getting out in my garage working on my projects as well. So I'm just having a good old time over here.
Sounds like a little adventuresome week there in the hills of we call it the Appalachian Mountains, as far over as you are? Probably not. I was just thinking.
Not really, no. And I'm in the flatland of Kentucky.
No moonshiners. Bummer.
Nope.
So, Will, I know you used the excuse last week that you were heading to Detroit to pick up some repaired parts and that for a couple of your projects, but I think you just kind of used that as an excuse to maybe run by a small little car show up in Detroit. Is that a true statement? And you go pick up some parts and then maybe swing by a little show?
Well, technically, Wednesday night I was finishing up the floor in our new room for our paint booth that will actually, by this time this airs, will hopefully be about halfway installed. So that's really consuming a lot of my time right now, trying to finish up the construction for the new paint booth room addition. Gavin's guy's been working with me pretty much since day one. He's pretty well painted every car that's come out of Big Oak Garage. We decided to tackle doing a multi-coat epoxy floor in our new paint booth room, which will house the paint booth, the mixing station, all the liquids and everything will be completely sealed off from the rest of the shop. So creating a little more room, getting the older paint booth out of the middle of the shop, and so creating a little more floor space for cars, and something a little more sanitary and a little better work environment for Gavin in the back. So, man, that's just been a lot of time of the last couple of weeks, and man, it seems like it's been a month since we've all talked. But yeah, Thursday morning we actually left out really early, going up to Detroit. Had a little unfortunate mishap in the little green dart. actually got in touch with Mike Copeland, and he repaired the engine for us, and it was ready. So we decided to, go on up to Detroit, pick up the motor. It just happened to be that the Detroit Autorama was going on the same weekend. So, of course, we went over there for a few days and actually was able to take care of a lot of business and see friends, kind of a breath of fresh air to, see some cool cars during the middle of winter and catch up with people that you don't get to see very often. So yes and no, that was my excuse. And I did go up there and get to see the sights and sound of the Detroit Autorama and all the buzz about the Riddler and all that stuff. So speaking of the Riddler, I'd like to talk about that for a few minutes. It's fortunately we have been a shop that has got to build a car and take it up there to compete for the Riddler. We're fortunate enough to get a grade 8. That's the only time I've ever done it, but I've been following the Riddler Award since I was a kid. It was always that's kind of the Super Bowl of the custom car industry, especially on the East Coast. Yeah, you got the AMBR and you got the Triple Crown and the Reno Cup and Battle of the Builders at SEMA. There's a lot of big awards out there, but the Riddler's just kind of the Super Bowl of it. It's the biggest. It's it's the hardest to win because it's anything. It's anything from a brand new car to the first car that's ever made, or a completely one-off hand-built car. Anything can compete for the Riddler Award. Excuse me. So it's always good to go up there and see that, and just man, over the last 3 or 4 years, it just seems that simply the rules of the award are not clearly stated. There's some gray areas, and they just gotta man, they gotta keep up with the times. With that being said, the rules for the Riddler are: the first time this car can be seen is on the floor at Cobo Hall on Wednesday night. It's not supposed to be seen on the internet. It's not supposed to be seen in public. You can't have a public event at your shop, like a Good Guys tour or Power Tour or a NSRA open house, or that is considered a public event. So it's not supposed to be seen there. The first time it's supposed to be seen is on the floor at Cobo Hall. They've kind of revised it a little bit, but it's still really, really gray, and nobody knows what you can post. Nobody knows what you can't post. And the age of social media, basically somebody that don't even know you from Adam could walk into your shop when you're not there, take a picture of the car, post it on the internet. They find out about it, you're done. All of that time, all of that money that the customer has spent, that you've spent trying to be different than everybody else but still cool and creative, is just completely thrown out the window. Because there are people that spend millions of dollars to build a car specifically for this award, not for anything else. There's been cars that's went to Detroit, either competed for the Riddler, won the Riddler, and you never saw them again. That's what they were built for. That was their intent. Either they won or they didn't. And some of them are never seen again. So that's how serious people take this award. And, it's sad to see that the people that are running this award cannot keep up with the times. You're going to have to come up with some daggum rules, and you got to stick to them. All right. If the rule is you can't post a picture of it on the internet, then stick to it. All right. If you want to change the rule to where you can put a picture on the internet, hey, that's great. Honestly, I think that's the best thing they could do. Let people put their build pictures of these cars online. Let Street Rodder run a magazine article on you building your car. All that's going to do is create buzz at the show. It's going to want to make people come see that car finished. I agree 100%. You shouldn't see the car finished until it's at Cobo Hall. But man, if you built these super cool, badass valve covers and you want to show them off, man, I think that's great. If you built some cool one-off wheels, hey, show them. I mean, it just creates buzz for the car, it creates buzz for the shop, and it creates buzz for the show. And social media is a powerful, powerful thing. And stuff can go viral, and it could create more people and more customers for everybody. That's my thoughts on it. I just wish they would really put some rules in black and white and get this thing back on the right track. This year, I'll kind of explain how it goes. You show up on Wednesday, you unload your car, they start judging your car right then. All right. You've got to do a small little test. It's got to crank, it's got to run, it's got to pull forward, you got to stop using the brake pedal, and you got to turn, and you turn left, and you got to turn right. It's not that difficult. Just to make sure the car is operational and very minimalistic. So once you do that, they show you your spot, you set up your display, and, there's anywhere from, 30 to 100 cars debuting at the show that's competing for the Riddler Award. Wednesday night when you leave, they really kind of look over the cars pretty strong. Thursday you come in and you really start putting the final detail and finish setting up your display. And Thursday night when you leave, that's when they really narrow down the grade 8. So Friday morning before the show opens, they announce the grade 8. So to be eligible for the Riddler, you have to be a grade 8 car. And then over the course of the next couple of days, man, they pick apart each grade 8 car, narrowing it down to the ultimate winner of the Riddler Award. Friday or Saturday morning, I get over to the show, and we know the cars that are in the grade 8, all deserving cars, very well built, nice, really nice, high dollar, highly detailed, good looking cars. They did a great job picking a grade 8. So I go to lunch, come back, and they have kicked 3 cars out of the grade 8. All right, for being seen on the internet. And I'm like, okay, well, at least I hate it for the guys, the builders, and the customers that it happened to, but at least they're kind of sticking to the rules, unlike last year, where actually the car that won was shown in bare metal at a public event, a big car show. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe they're making the right decisions here, trying to get this back on track to where it needs to be. Well, heck, by the end of the day, those 3 cars were allowed back in. Now, I wasn't there. I had already headed back home, so I don't really know exactly what went down. I don't know exactly why they were let back in, but still, they were kicked out and then they were let back in. And ultimately, at the end of the day, one of the cars that was kicked out and let back in won it. So the Silver 57 was kicked out, put back in, and it won the award. Granted, when I walked through there and I saw the grade 8, I said, that's the car that's going to win. I assumed that car would win, and ultimately it did. Not without having to jump through some hoops and whatnot. So, there's just a small example of, if you don't have rules, you don't make people stick to your rules, then it's going to cause mass confusion from here on out. And ultimately, at the end of the day, people are going to stop building these type of cars for that specific award. Don't get me wrong, people are still going to build super high-end cars just because we can. And people want that. They want the nicest car that they can, that they can afford to build. And it really sucks to see that award kind of start getting tainted, so to speak. And like I said, I'm no expert on the Riddler Award. I've only been up there one time. We were fortunate enough to get a grade 8. It's just, you need to make some rules. You need to keep up with the times, and you need to stick to your rules. I don't know why the cars were let back in. I did hear why they were kicked out, but I don't know what the reasoning was for of letting them back in. I'm sure I will hear, and that's really just beside the point. Period. Is make rules, keep up with the times, and stick to your guns. And that's going to make it makes everything so much smoother when you have black and white rules. And yes, I know in where there's rules, there's gray areas in this and gray areas in that, and that will have to be changed as time goes on. But from what I could tell, nothing had changed from last year, from when the people that won the Riddler last year said that was a different car. And I guess it could be, because I know Chris Ito designed those cars, and they were supposed to build, I think, 12 with fenders, 12 without fenders. I'm not exactly sure. So it could have been a different car, but it don't really appear that way when you look at the bare metal picture where it was at, I think, the Portland Roadster Show or Portland ISCA show, whatever they call it, and the car that won. Yeah, the wheels were a little different and the headlights were a little different, but it sure really looked like the exact same car. But anyway, it just seemed like nothing was changed after that, and that upset a lot of people. I'm not even saying I wasn't up there last year, so I don't know what was the best car, but a lot of people were saying that wasn't even the best car. That there was a couple other early Fords up there that were a lot better car than the car that won. But anyway, I wasn't there. I'm not the judge, So anyway, I think I'm pretty much done with my little rant. If y'all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
I can see what you're saying and completely understand. I think all the listeners can understand. I'm a rules guy, and rules are rules, and I like writing rules and creating rules. And if you don't believe that, talk to anybody that rents a swap meet spot for me in the fall. I enjoy my rules. I don't, and I'm not very flexible on them. But I do understand your challenge. You had an open house at your place last fall. I came up to and handed out some No Driving Glove stickers and merchandise and things too. So, yeah, check out Will's shop and pay attention to his open houses in case you want stickers, magnets, and stuff from No Driving Gloves. Shameless plug. But
or some Big Oak Garage gear.
Yeah, and Will will be happy to sell you that or throw it in free with any signed contract for a job. And if you notice, we have discontinued the Will I Need Employment segment of the show, I believe. But our need employees.
Oh, I'm sure it'll come back.
If you're an experienced fabricator and looking for a cool place to work, contact Big Oak Garage.
Okay, well, see?
Okay.
I guess we brought back that segment. But I remember walking through, and I was a little hesitant on taking some pictures and putting them on social media, especially the No Driving Glove site, because I know some of those rules, and I don't know where those cars are going. And you kind of said afterwards, oh, it was okay. You've had signs up before, and nobody pays attention to them. And I guess the general public has to, be a little bit aware of that. And even the big concours, I know Pebble Beach has a rule that I think if you show a car at Pebble Beach, it can't be shown at any show, 12 months prior to Pebble Beach and a certain period of time afterwards, just because of, the rules they have. Very, very few exceptions, and because the shows want the exclusivity and they don't want things that everybody's seen. But in this day and age of social media, and you don't know who's going to snap a picture, and you know, Will's shop's not the Pentagon. It doesn't have, he doesn't have security guards and lockdown and, check your cell phones at the door. But maybe that's what the Riddler people want. Maybe that's something that the shops are going to have to step up to if you go for the Riddler. But you need to put those rules in writing, publish them, and so be it. But I know those builds take more than 12 months too. So, if I'm starting a build today and I'm looking at trying to compete for the Riddler in 2021, when does the Autorama publish those rules? These are the rules for the 2021 show. You can't. I mean, if I was building a show 5 years or building a car 4 years ago, 3 years ago, I would have never even dreamed of Instagram. What's next? Social media? What's or Instagram stories with a 60-second video. So it's an ever-changing thing, and I think Will's
Yep.
Complaints are justified, but the judging has to and the rules kind of have to be a little bit lax, or they have to have some forgiveness just because of the way technology changes.
I want to add something right quick that I actually forgot to talk about. And, you're right, John, today with social media, I mean, Facebook, Instagram, just everything, it's everywhere. Everybody has a freaking video recorder and a camera in their pocket at all times. And, it's not a bad thing. I think that the social media side of it could actually grow that show to something bigger than they've ever seen at the Autorama. This year, the aisles were a little wider, and there was space at the back of the building where they could have put more cars, more vendors. So it wasn't packed to the gills like it's been in the past. I really think they need to embrace these shops and these guys that are paying to have these cars built. They need to embrace social media with these Riddler projects, and possibly even putting them in magazines as a build thread in some of the higher end magazines to create a buzz about these cars before they get there. It's going to create a buzz about the show. It's going to create a buzz about the guy that owns it, his vision of why he's building this car, and the craftsmen at the shop that are putting it together, and the artist that's putting it on paper. It's really going to drive people to Detroit to see these cars finished. No, you don't need to put an article out there with a finished car, and you don't need to put the finished car on your website or on Facebook or Instagram. It may slip up and happen. If it does, and you didn't post it, and the customer didn't post it, then you know what? You don't have any control over that. Somebody can hack into my freaking security cameras and screenshot whatever they want and put it all over the internet. I'm sure. I don't know how to do that, but I guarantee there's somebody out there that does. Not saying that that's going to happen for a daggum car show, but you never know.
I can sort of agree with you, and there's I can look at it from both sides. I'm really good at arguing, either side of the argument, or being on either. And I understand what you're saying. Let's build some buzz, and this car is being built for the Riddler. Let's follow it in a magazine. Let's follow it on my social media. Here's my Instagram thread on the hottest, most shapely 32 Ford, and follow that on Instagram. And we're going for the Riddler in 2021. But the problem, I can see where the Autorama and the Riddler award is. All of a sudden, every rod shop's going to be building a car for the Riddler, and it's going to kind of, I'm building. Maybe the rule should be, who cares if it shows up on social media, but 12 months out, it's kind of like a juried art show, say. If, say, Big Oak Garage is building a car to compete for the Riddler, right now you're building it. But 12 months out, you have to submit that car to the Detroit Autorama, and they're going to say, okay, we think the quality, we know what Big Oak Garage builds, that is the quality we want for the Riddler. And so, okay, from that for the next 12 months, it is a blackout period on that car. You work on it, you have people in your shop, you cover it up, no pictures, nothing goes out, and you've got a little bit of the buzz beforehand, and you can build off the social media from the previous 2 years of the build and get some excitement. It prevents, you know, John Viviani's Hot Rod Shop, my Hyundai Velociter Riddler Award contender that I'm building and I'm following on social media. Follow us and, hashtag, JV Street Rods. That prevents that from every little Tom, Dick, and Harry building a Riddler and claiming it. In that last 12 months, you can go ahead and post those early pictures if you want to, and it's up to you if your shop puts them out, because you might all of a sudden come up with some new way of, Frenching a door handle in a tuck and roll, whatever, and that you don't want anybody to see. But that's up to you whether or not you want to leak that out or leak out a quarter of a picture of something new modification you've come up with, and let the shop do some of its pre-promotion and create that buzz. But like I said, I think the best thing is 12 months out, everybody who wants to compete for the Riddler in, say, 2019, right now they have to submit, an application with some photos, and let the Autorama kind of choose 25 or 30 cars that, okay, these cars can be publicized as Riddler contenders. And then when they get there, because if I understand what you explained the judging right, you have the Autorama, say, with 100 cars. Then they come in and then they pick the grade 8. They pick the 8 out of 100 that can compete for the Riddler. But we don't know what those are until, effectively, we don't know what those are until they're actually named the grade 8. And then the grade 8 go into the microscopic judging over the next 24, 48 hours.
You have to submit pictures of your car for that. And I'll be honest, I'm sure they probably have a pretty good idea. Say there's 100 cars coming, they probably got a good idea of the top 15 before they're even unloaded out of the trailer. You gotta, because you can submit anything for the Riddler. If it's the first time shown, you just built a rat rod. Okay, well, crap. I'll just debut it at the Autorama and we're going to go for the Riddler. You can do that. They don't turn anybody away and say, no, you can't. Now, you may be in a 10 by 10 in the back corner of the building, but you're still there as first time shown, so they consider you a Riddler contender just because it's first time shown. So they probably got a good idea of the top, 15 or 20 before you even roll them out of the trailer.
Okay, I'll give you that, but I still think, everybody, if all of a sudden it's allowed to publish pictures on social media more than, with less than 12 months before the show, everybody's going to be building a Riddler car, and it's, it'll create that buzz for certain shops that aren't deserving, because, I've walked into some shops that shouldn't be building go-karts for 10-year-olds, let alone, 1,000 horsepower hot rods. So.
Yeah, know the feeling.
I don't think Derek has a clue what
Derek,
we're talking about.
Derek, are you alive?
I lived in Detroit for like 10 years. I went to every Autorama while I was there. I know the Riddler Award. But, I have to say, I can kind of see both sides of this, although I guess the way I look at it is maybe from, you have to have the rules. John and Will, you guys both agree on that. You've got to have the rules. You've got to have something. What that rule is, it needs to be discussed. You have to think about what the modern day technology is, social media, all those things. But the way I look at it and what I see, I don't think there should be the complete blackout period that John mentions. I feel like not only can you create buzz with some pictures of, like Will mentioned, maybe you built this really cool header design to go on the engine and you want to show it off. And you just show that tight picture of the engine with the header. You don't show a whole bunch of stuff. Not only is that going to drive interest in what that car is going to look like when it's done. Will, I know most of you guys in the hot rod industry all know each other, just like those of us in the antique car, classic car world in the museums, and you all talk. But there's also that little bit of, oh, hey, man, Big Oak Garage, man, they put out this picture of this cool header they built, and we know we're going up against them for the Riddler. We got to do something even better. And it's going to drive that competitive spirit in the competition and probably lead to some really cool stuff coming out of these shops that hasn't been thought about before. It's going to push kind of the innovation of the hot rod industry even further. And I think that's in some cases where, especially in the hot rod world, I think that's what these competitions should be encouraging is innovation in what you're doing, more creativity, and to completely black it out. Oh, nobody can see any part of the car. I think it actually hinders what you're trying to do. Now, granted, you'd see it when the car is unveiled, but that just means now, next year, everybody's going to be trying to beat that, and those people are going to be coming up with something even better. Why not drive the creativity while everyone's building their car? So that's the one thing I've never really liked about the Riddler Award. When I lived in Detroit and I was going to Autorama every year, was I always felt it was kind of a shame that they had to first time only show the car and they couldn't have shown anything on it and so on and so forth, because I always felt like, well, if I was building one of these and I knew, Will was down in, Hoax Bluff doing something cool, I'd want to try to top that, and it would drive the creativity of the cars being built. So I'm more on the side of, there's got to be rules, but as Will says, get with the times, realize what social media is doing and what it can lead to, and use it to better the competition and better the show and better everything about Autorama and the Riddler Award. So that's where I'd stand on the Riddler Award. And I mean, John and I can probably go into a whole bunch of other stuff at car shows for restored cars that we have rants on, because I'll tell you, I don't agree with a whole bunch of stuff that goes on in the restoration world with judging. So, but I don't know if we have time for that.
I just want to say I have no complaints about what was in the grade 8, what didn't make the grade 8, even the car that won. I have no complaints about the actual judging, so to speak, that is involved. It's just what is really eligible and what is not eligible. Don't be kicking cars out and letting cars back in once you've gave them the award already. You should know if that car has been shown or been seen on social media before it gets there. You should know that. Whether you hire somebody to go, the cars that are coming, the shops that are bringing them, just go look. It's not that difficult, So why were those cars even eligible for the grade 8 when they unloaded them off the trailer?
It's called politics, Will.
That's well, I mean, I understand there's politics and everything, and that could have had something to do with it. I don't know. But, if you put it out there, everybody's seen it. Well, not everybody, but people that, watch these shops and are watching these, follow these shops, they saw it too. I mean, I don't know. That's just, they should know who's eligible legitimately for the grade 8 before they're even unloaded on the trailer. That's all I got to say.
Well, as Derek said, I'm sure him and I can get into the same argument on other shows, and so let me defend Will a little bit and say it's not just the Autorama. I see it all the time, and rules change and things flex. And I'll be honest, I manage a competition every year, and somehow the rules always somehow slide a little bit. The award here is $100, as opposed to, like he said, some of these cars. It's all three of us here sitting doing this podcast combined. Well, even with Will's, income, will never make enough to pay for one of these cars. Heck, I'm going to be lucky to make enough in my life to pay for a set of wheels for one of them. But it's it, it's it's serious money, and it's serious competition on levels that are beyond most of our comprehension for the money involved. You just have to have a set of rules, and you have to stick by them and be able to stick by them to make it a fair playing field. You can't. It's the old rule. You can't make everybody happy all of the time. And again, you're dealing with people that are spending $1 million, $2 million, dollars on a car. So these aren't people that take no for an answer. But unfortunately, if you're going to run a show that you have, and we'll say the grade 8, you've got $16 million worth of cars, you're going to have to tell 7 people no. And you're going to have to be able to stand by it. And you're going to have to be able to tell probably 10 more people no that you can't get in because somebody went into a shop and took a picture on social media. And then unfortunately, that shop's going to get lambasted by the owner that just spent $2 million on a car. And, um, I've recently been in a meeting, and it was a kind of explain that, it rolls downhill. And at the bottom of that hill is a manure spreader, and and sometimes that manure spreader just can't unload, and it just has to take what comes at it. Not to defend the shop, but if the shop lets the picture get taken of the client's car that's paying him $1 million to build a car, and the shop knows the rules for the Riddler too, if you're going to let the picture be taken, you have to be willing to be disqualified, or you need to, when you sign that contract for that car to build that car for that client, you have to be aware of those rules. And like I said, you might have to, under today's rules, cover that car up anytime that one of your technicians is not around it watching it. You might have to build a booth around it just so that it can't be seen by the general public. If you have an open house, you have to hide that car, or, again, build a false wall around it so nobody can see it. It's like I said, once you take that deposit and you take that contract, you're responsible for adhering to the rules just as much as the car owner or your employee. You've even got to worry about your employee taking a picture. Oh, I got a really cool TIG weld, and so he puts it on his Instagram, and all of a sudden, some judge at the Riddler sees it and goes, "Oh, wait a second, that was the Odyssey 6323, that can't. That's all of a sudden disqualifying it." Rules are rules, and they need to be written down, and they need to be adhered to. And if you're going to change them, you got to change them and give the poor people a little bit of a chance. If you choose them for the grade 8, and then the next morning you wake up and go, "Oh, we changed the rule, and you're no longer eligible," and then that afternoon, after that guy throws a fit at lunch, you change the rule back. Can't be doing that. Not fair to the other 7 guys, or say 99 people in the building, or whatever.
Well, and it's not fair to the other guy, but it also, in my opinion, it questions the credibility of the award. I mean, flat out. And as Will said, I've known about the Riddler pretty much since I was a kid growing up in Michigan. You kind of know about those things if you're in the car world. You go to the shows, you hear people talk about them. And the Riddler is, as Will says, one of the most respected awards in the hot rod business and that world. And when you start changing your mind on things like that from one day to the next, from 1 hour to the next, where's the credibility in that award? It's showing that award is about the politics of the show and possibly the amount of money someone is throwing at something, be it the build of the car or something else going on. And I'm not saying that's, that is what's going on at the Riddler, but that's what the appearance of changing your mind constantly about the rules can lead to. And if you're going to be a respected award, if you're going to be the Riddler, if you're going to be overall best of show at Pebble Beach, there should be no way anyone can question the credibility of that award because you've flip-flopped on a rule somewhere. And it's the way it is. And the other thing I would say is the people that are competing for it, and I haven't had to make rules for something as high level as the Riddler, but it amazes me when you do make a rule, the people that try to get around it and cheat the system. And I know in racing, there's the old saying of, you don't read the real rule book to find out what you're not allowed to do. You read it to find out what's not written. Don't try to cheat the system either if you're trying to compete. Nothing drove me crazier than some of the applicants for like Old Car Festival at Greenfield Village. Very stringent rules that the cars have to be the way they came from factory. And people would apply with cars that had been modified in some way or another. Why? Adhere to the rules no matter which side of the game you're on, whether you're the judge or the participant. Adhere to it. Make sure that it is the credible competition and award that it needs to be as well respected as something like the Riddler Award should be, and for a long time was, and hopefully still is. I mean, that's what I would say about it.
Sorry about my rant turning into the entire show.
Well, I think that's why we named the podcast No Driving Gloves, because originally the idea was my weekly rants, and you two came along for the ride. So part of it is to rant and to voice, and obviously, especially the Riddler and what you do, it's a big part of your life.
Yeah, so, I generally try to stay pretty neutral on most things. Just for the sheer fact of what I do for a living, and who can help it and who can hurt it. And you don't want to make anybody mad.
Yeah, I do.
But well, maybe you do. I try not to.
One third of us wants to make people mad.
But it's, I just feel like something really needed to be said, and I don't care what they do with the rules. I don't care if they make it so, you can, I guess I do care. To me, it needs to debut there, but I don't care if you can put it on social media. If you can't put it on social media, I don't really care what the rules are. We just need something to go by. They need to just put something down on paper, post it on their website, and that's it. That's what you go by. If you want to see the rules for the Riddler, you don't have to call the Michigan Hot Rod Association and get them to send it to you. They should be posted on the Detroit Autograma website and Michigan Hot Rod Association website. Because the Riddler's not an ISCA award, it's a Michigan Hot Rod Association award that's just given away at the Detroit Autorama.
I was going to say, I guess it's cool. I in the layman's term and something, the real world, I guess people in the real world, I kind of call it, you're saying they need less NASCAR-like rules and more Formula One-like rules. Because, in NASCAR, you can have some springs settling in a race. In Formula One, if you don't have, and excuse me, I don't know the real number, but if you don't have 1.2 centimeters of ground clearance on your car at the end of the race, you're disqualified. And don't let it be 1.98 centimeter or one. It's got to be exactly that, and it's that fine thing. You want rules with no no variance whatsoever. You wrote the rule sticks.
That's right. And do you know how much smoother everything would go? Okay, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, you're in, you're in. It's that simple. It could be that simple. But they're making it freaking just so complicated where everything is so gray. I had a fellow builder that is actually one of my idols in the industry. He's been doing this a really, really long time, and I like everything he's ever built pretty much. He told me, he said, "Will, you want to know why there's certain awards that I don't try to go for? Because you don't know what you're going for. You don't know the rules. You can't fight if you don't know the rules." And this was said to me several years ago. I mean, this is a guy that has won the Riddler. He's won AMBR. He's won every major award that you can imagine. And he was just like, if you don't know the rules, you don't even know how to build the car for that award or what to do. He said, so I just don't even mess with it. You got people that won't even build cars if they don't know the rules. So if you put some hard rules there, you may even have more builders showing up for it because they know what they're doing. They know what they're building a car for.
We ended up going from the negative to the positive. You put the spin on it, and you're exactly right. I could use names, but I'm not going to. But I have a theory behind certain Formula One engineers that they used to push the boundaries of engineering year after year and built some fabulous cars. But they kind of got, they'd build some great cars and win a lot. And then they would come out with some radical within the rules design, and all of a sudden, okay, yeah, that's an approved design, and then everybody else saw it and throws a fit, and then it's thrown out. The rules are rewritten, and you're going, it's not cheap to build a Formula One car, or it's not cheap to engineer something and then have all the rules change because everybody else doesn't like it or your interpretation. So totally agree with where you're at, and let's just do that. I mean, every show out there, look at your rule book. It has to be in writing. Like I say, the event that I took over a couple of years ago when I managed, we had rules, but none of them were ever written down. And I can't deal with that. I can't walk up to somebody and say, "I'm sorry, I'm not renewing your space," or "I'm not, I need you to go home because you've broken the rules." And they go, "Well, show me the rule." Well, it's just a rule we know exists. No, now people, when they register, they sign acknowledging they've received a copy of the rules, and you break the rules, it's the way it is. It makes it simpler and cleaner, and you don't think it improves things, but like you said, it makes things go so much smoother. Everybody knows the playing field. Everybody knows the game. I think we made Derek be quiet this episode a lot on this topic. And of course, he talked a lot last week. So, do you have anything to say?
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, I agree most with what you guys are saying, and you guys, I mean, I've added what I had to say about, and to me, a big part of it is that side of it where, yeah, the shows need to make the rules and stick to them, but nothing drives me crazier. And like I say, I get it, but I'm not one who, I don't try to cheat the rules in life. And I hate nothing more than when I see someone at a car show or going up for an award that's trying to cheat the rules because they want to win. I'm sorry, rules are there to make it a fair competition. And if you can't deal with that, then don't enter the show. Don't enter the competition. If you can't, deal with you might not win, then go home. Because cheating the rules, again, just as bad as the show not sticking to the rules. So I think for me, it's on both sides. It's on the show and it's on the competitor to set the rules, follow the rules, and make it an honorable competition. And like Will says, with the rules there, and if you're an honest participant, you know what you're fighting for and you know how to win. And guess what? If somebody's better than you, then that time around, the best man won.
Well,
Will says well said, and I'm going to say that that seems like a good conclusion to the show. I'll just kind of wrap it up that, at No Driving Gloves, why this was kind of created is to be able to be a soapbox for us at time to time and to educate you about the hobby. We've always encouraged the collector car hobby be for fun. And some idea of fun is to get into your car and go to a donut run on a Saturday morning. Some guys' idea is to sit around in the afternoon, or excuse me, on a Saturday morning and have a cup of coffee in the freezing weather with a bunch of guys. And other people, it's to go to a show and win a trophy. But in order to win that trophy, there has to be those rules. And then that guy can play by those rules. And if he loses, he loses. If he wins, he wins. But it's a fair game, and it makes it fun for everybody all across the board. So don't get upset. If you're somebody who has to play by the rules, only go with competitions that print the rules. If you're somebody who likes to run that little gamble and kind of likes to argue and there's a little bit of fun, look for those vague rules it shows. But with that, know what you're getting into. But remember, guys, cars are for fun. You buy your Honda to go to and from work, and get your 32 Ford to have fun with on Saturdays and Sundays. Take the family out. So with that, I'm going to say I'm going to bed, everybody, and good night, good morning, whatever generic time of the day it is for you. I'm out of here.
Adios.
See you guys next time.